please, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, the Commission call Michael Dowd. Please remain standing, Mr. Dowd. Raise your right hand. I'd ask the chairman to please administer the oath.
Mr. Dowd, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in the course of your testimony during these proceedings? So help you God.
I do.
Thank you, Mr. Dowd. Will you please be seated? Mr. Armayo, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Dowd, I'd like you to please keep your voice up and speak into the microphone so that everyone can hear you. Were you once a police officer of the New York City Police Department?
Yes, I was.
How long were you a police officer?
10 years and 5 months.
Mr. Dowd, during those 10 years as a police officer, did you use your authority to commit crimes and acts of corruption in violation of your sworn duty to uphold the law?
Yes, I did.
While you were in uniform and on duty, did you commit thefts?
Yes.
Did you commit extortion?
Yes.
Did you engage in narcotics trafficking?
Yes.
Did you protect drug operations?
Yes.
Did you engage in personal drug use?
Yes.
How many crimes and acts of corruption do you estimate you committed as a New York City police officer?
Hundreds.
New York is in the grips of a crime wave.
Crack is now sweeping New York.
Justice Department officials now say there is a direct link between crime and cocaine.
Evidence of heavy money and heavy violent drug traffic is all around.
It was like the heyday of crack. Every city was having trouble with violence. New York City at the time was having 3,500 murders a year, and East New York was the worst part of that. It was a war zone.
They were empty buildings. They were just living in them and running electric from the street pole to the houses. It looked like Beirut.
East New York at the time was very, very poor, so you had all of the socioeconomic contributors to crime, all of that converging, and it was a hotbed for crime in New York City.
East New York, Brooklyn, 7-5 precinct. Back in the late 80s, it was the deadliest precinct in the country.
The 7-5 precinct runs north to south from Jamaica Avenue to Storage City.
Every year we led the city in homicides. We led the city in police shootings. There was a captain there who would take a Polaroid photo and say, "Give this to your wife so she'll remember who you were."
It was the highest murder rate in the country in a little 5-square-mile precinct.
You had the fucking gangbangers and the drug dealers, and you could be sitting in a radio car in one corner and hear shots going off 100 yards away behind you. Who the fuck did I burn to get put here? It would scare Clint Eastwood.
The radio doesn't stop. It's one call after another, after another, after another.
Hi, this is code for 148.
You got a backlog of 200 jobs to answer already. So you handle one job, now you're down to 199. No, the calls are still coming in. Accident, a dispute, a fire.
Homicides, robberies, rapes.
You name it, it just doesn't stop.
People on crack with guns. Drug dealers with guns. Young kids with guns. They were violent, man. Violent, violent, violent.
Welcome to East New York.
Welcome to the land of fuck. My name's Ken Urell. Grew up in Rosedale, Queens. Irish Catholic. Catholic school for 12 years. My mother worked in Manhattan as a bookkeeper, and my father was a construction worker. It wasn't a dream to become a cop. I became a cop because I really had no direction in life. It could have just as easily been a fireman. But test that came out first was the police officer test. So that's the test I took, and I did well, and I was called right away. I was called before I was 20 years old. We got a gun and shield, and I get assigned to the 7-5 Precinct, East New York.
Before beginning your testimony about your career as a police officer, Mr. Dowd, I'd like to ask you a bit about your background. How old are you?
32.
Are you married?
Yes, I am.
How long have you been married?
8 years.
Do you have children?
I have 2 sons.
Are you from the New York area?
Yes.
What county are you from?
Suffolk County.
Will your family be listening to your testimony here today?
Yes.
When did you enter the police academy?
January 26, 1982.
Did you receive integrity training at the academy?
Some, yes.
What do you mean by some?
We had visits from internal affairs officers.
The life in the academy is sort of like going to a parochial school, and if you look back at it. It was a building time, a time to build a camaraderie with the guy next to you, the guy, whatever side of you started to form a bond as a unit.
Did you personally treat it seriously, the integrity training?
No.
And based on your conversations with your other recruits, did they treat it seriously?
No, that's how we all formulated our own opinions from that.
And based on what you could see, did the instructors treat it seriously?
Not at all.
I recall having internal affairs giving a lesson to the class. And after the individual left, our academy instructor looked at us and said, now, you can go that way or you can go this way. You want to be a successful cop, you don't go that way. And this is the academy. I didn't even step on the street yet, and I'm being told, side in this direction with whatever you got to do. Cover your ass. That was the biggest thing. You cover your ass so that you don't have to deal with internal affairs.
Mr. Dowd, in your experiences in your first year, did you come to learn what it meant for a police officer to be quote-unquote good?
Yes.
Could you tell the commissioners and the public what it means to be good in the police jargon as you know it?
Well, being good is a cop that would never give up another cop. A cop that if he witnesses something go down, he's 100% behind anything a cop does, no matter what it is.
We began to form a bond at that early stage. If you said blue, I said blue. You said green, it was green. I don't know, if Johnny says it's green, I saw green. You always took the side of the cop that was with you, because he was the only one that was going to back you up when you needed help.
Mr. Dowd, in a precinct like the 75th Precinct, did it become particularly necessary to forge bonds with other police officers there?
Yes.
Why was that?
Survival.
Learning the streets is a transition process. It comes from the other cops, too. You'll learn from them what the street is telling you that you don't know it's telling you. You'll learn the walk of someone with a gun. You'll learn the eye drift of someone who maybe has drugs on them. You start to learn body language. But it's a process, because just because someone darts their eyes away from you, you're a rookie cop, you have no idea why they might be doing it. There comes a point where you have to make a decision on taking something that you find or vouchering something that you find.
NX 2514 can transmit on text.
In the beginning, as a good rookie cop, you're going to voucher what you find, no matter what it is. And then after probably a year or two, and you've been driving back and forth to work for the last, 400, 600 tours of duty, and, you feel a little bit underappreciated. You feel like no one really cares, You're really not stemming the flow of crime like you thought you were gonna. And all of a sudden, you see an opportunity come along, and, eventually, one day I was hurting for money, and I just took a risk, and I pulled over a motorist who happened to be an 18-year-old mystery. Back then, it was called a Puerto Rican mystery. No license, no registration, no plates, no nothing. but he had a nice thick stack of $100 bills on him. And I said to him, you know, I like, you got about, you know, $1,500 to $2,000 worth of tickets here. So I suggested that if he bought me a nice lobster lunch, I could let him go. And with that, he promptly took a couple $100 out of his wallet, left it on the back seat, and pulled out of the car, and I drove away like I was going to get arrested, and I didn't, and I won.
When I first went to the precinct, I hear about this guy, Mike Dowd, and a group of his friends. They had a reputation. They were fucking out of control.
I met Mikey D, obviously, in the 7-5. Every now and then we would be paired up. First time I knew I could trust Mikey was, we had handled a walk-in at the precinct.
We take this woman over to her house. Her husband's there. He's beating me. Can you just get me in the house? I want to get some clothes. Chicky and I roll up. We walk up the fucking staircase.
Man in his 20s, Rastafarian, dreadlocks, answers the door. He sees us, and it looks like his world has just ended. So at this point, we know something's on. The woman runs in. She grabs a couple of bags of clothes or whatever, and she runs out. She's gone. So Mikey grabs the guy. We get him pinned.
As I got him on the floor in his living room, there was a bag as big as a fuck. It was
Gigantic bag of fresh marijuana.
a 55-gallon drum. That's the size of this bag. Was filled with marijuana.
Couldn't even tie the top. Stalks were sticking out of the top of the bag.
I go, Chicky, under the fucking couch. He goes under the couch, pulls out a duffel bag.
I open up the bag. The thing was loaded with money.
He pulls out 2 guns. I go, what else is in there? He goes, cash. He takes the fucking bag, closes it, and puts it back under the couch, takes the 2 guns out. I go, what are you doing? Fuck the guns. There's cash in that bag.
I don't know how much money was in there. Minimum 20 large, 20,000, 25,000, around there somewhere. So I look at Mikey, he looks at me. And I guess right at that point right there, I knew I could trust Mikey, and I knew he could trust me.
So we peeled off about $8 grand, whatever we took from him. Left the house. I think Chicky took the 2 guns because he's a gun buff.
We tell the guy, you know, this is your lucky day. You know, you're getting off scot-free.
It's a good score. Yeah, absolutely.
I got 2 months' worth of paychecks in my pocket. And now I'm thinking, you know, all kinds of stuff runs through your head. Is this a plant? Did anybody know anything? Where's the woman? Is this a setup? All of a sudden she ran out, starts to become paranoid. This is not what cops are supposed to do. It's fucking over my head a lot.
I was certainly nervous, but, you know, after a couple hours went by, I wasn't too worried about it.
Well, the guy says you took his money. Well, prove it. You have me on video? You got me on tape? Audio? Anything? No? Well, his word against mine. And I'm a cop.
Things began to change when I started to find money and drugs at different locations. I was in control now. That gave me the real feeling of being in control. I've been throwing this shit out for years. Now all of a sudden, it's a moneymaker. I'm like, okay. A kid had done a stick-up on Fulton. He ran home, hid in his house. We knocked the door down, went inside. I knew we were in a coke house, triple beam scales everywhere. So I hacksawed this briefcase open. I stuck my hand and I ripped out this bag. A plume of fucking white powder was flying. I said, pay dirt. Bags. I'm putting bags in my coat. At the time, it was $30,000 a kilo for coke. So we know if we had a half or a 1, we're getting $20,000 at least. And I took the money and bought a condo in Myrtle Beach. I love the golf, and I know Myrtle Beach was a golfer's haven, and it's on a beach.
"13 New York City police officers have been suspended.
Police are accused of accepting money from drug pushers and committing burglaries.
It's the worst police scandal in the city in years.
Little crew of cops were raiding homes and raiding drug locations.
My brother's a fireman in the 7-7 precinct. And he calls me up and he says, "What's going on in the 7-7? Cops are coming into the firehouse and they're borrowing ladders and hatchets. The cops were using the ladders to go to these locations where they knew the drugs were, and they were using the axes to break down the doors. These guys had no finesse whatsoever. These guys were absolutely berserk.
12 officers had been charged with corruption in a Brooklyn precinct dubbed the Alamo.
The 7-7 scandal shook up the whole department. When that broke, there were huge rumors on how the next scandal was going to break into 7-5. So all those dirty cops started leaving the department. People doing crooked shit was afraid a new scandal was going to break out.
I wind up resigning shortly afterwards because, I had felt the heat was on, the pressure was on. And I figured, hey, listen, you know what? If I resign, maybe I could beat this.
Mike Dowd was the only one who gambled. He bet that the department didn't want another scandal.
The last thing the police department wanted after the 7-7 was the 7-5 to go down in this bust situation as well.
There were not any other cops like Michael Dowd.
He was a criminal. Dowd was a criminal.
Look up in the dictionary, I don't give a fuck, and Mikey Dowd's picture is in there. It's right there.
Michael Dowd was a crook who ended up wearing a cop's uniform.
I heard the rumors about Michael, being dirty.
A once-in-a-generation corrupt cop.
It don't fucking bother me.
The normal person that's doing wrong is going to have a fear of being caught. It's not Michael Dowd. Michael Dowd did not have any fear.
I never had a fear about getting busted because the cops around me would never give me up.
How busy was the 75th precinct? How many radio runs a day does it average? Police officer handle?
I averaged about 250 calls a month.
And in a precinct of that nature, you just mentioned a moment ago that it was particularly necessary to forge bonds with other cops because of survival. What do you mean, that you protect each other on the street?
Yes, very much so.
Do you believe if a cop is not a good cop in the way you describe it, that his safety in a command like that might be jeopardized?
Yes.
The streets of New York and Brooklyn in particular, it's like a bloodbath. I mean, there was 1,000 shootings a year in my precinct alone. 100 murders a year. You want to go home at night. So part of going home at night is the guy that's with you. You got to trust him.
About 2 years working into the 7-5, I had an opening in my car.
Kenny was griping that the only one left around was this Michael Dowd.
He was trying to find himself a partner. I was on the no-good list, so he wouldn't work with me, because he had heard all the stories.
I actually went to roll call. I said, stop putting Dowd in the car. I don't want to work with him. And it fell on deaf ears. We started working together.
Before you know it, we started to get a little bit of comfortability working with one another. He would take me to Joe's Bodega for some fucking Heinekens.
We make a personal connection about our wives. We got married at the same time. We're both around the same age. We had sons at the same time. There was a real personal connection there.
I gained his respect, and then his trust. And it came to a point, I says, why don't you make this official?
And at some point he goes, you need a partner, I need a partner, We're both good cops, we got all this in common, let's be partners.
Our future lieutenant. His friends would come over and say, you can't be with him. This guy's trouble. He was totally corrupt.
They said to me, no, don't work with Dowd, you're gonna end up in trouble, give up the car if you have to.
It's no joke. This is a big mistake.
I could see the pain he had to endure amongst the guys that he was very close with in order to become my partner.
My response was, he knows what he's doing out there. He can handle himself in the street. I don't have to worry about him. And all I do bad is drink on the job. How much trouble can I actually get into?
He stood by me. Kenny's the type of guy that if he's got your back, you know you got your back. And I really, really admired it. From that moment forward, it was like a true love affair. I gave him my heart after that moment.
Do you believe if a cop is not a good cop in the way you describe it, that his safety in a command like that might be jeopardized?
Yes.
In what sense?
Well, if a cop isn't good, you might be more slow to react to his calls for help, and which are quite a few.
Is that particularly true if a cop is known as a rat or a complainant or someone who talks to supervisors?
Definitely. More so.
Even more so?
More so.
I had been in the 7-5 now, I'd say, approximately a year and a half, maybe 2 years. At this point, you're learning quick, you're moving quick, your mind's adapting. You still responded as a cop, and so you saw an opportunity, you took, and made money.
So Mike starts talking about money day and night. There's money all over this precinct. How much money could be grabbed and be in our pockets? These drug dealers got money. Just look at these people. They're rolling in with brand new Porsches, brand new Jaguars. He's looking for any job to come over, any situation where he could get me to cross the line. He needs my full participation in order for him to make real money.
And I told him, some of the scores and how much money we made, which was considerable amounts for a policeman who's making $36,000 a year. I probably made that in scores in the last year.
Give Dad a kiss.
I'm making about $600 and change a week. I have a mortgage, I have 2 cars, my wife's not working at that time. I'm living from paycheck to paycheck. The thought of money coming in hand over fist the way he's talking is it's tempting situation, and opens my mind, which is what he wanted to do.
A few minutes ago, when you were saying how you were making money of drug dealers, you also said there were other ways to make money. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes. There are other ways, like burglaries.
Well, did you actually engage in burglaries?
Yes.
Will you tell us some of the circumstances, please?
A
job comes over the radio.
A woman's house down the block was burglarized.
We get to the place, and there's this high school age girl standing outside her front door, and we start going through the whole place. Find out there's no burglars in the building.
I had gotten a new partner at the time, and I had to prove to him that I was good. So in order to prove to him that I was good, I had to give him some reason to think that to know that I was good.
Mike grabs the girl and goes, "Do you know if your parents kept any money or valuables anywhere?"
So she called her mother, and her mother told her where the money was hidden, and I found it for her. But she never got it.
And he reaches up, and he's feeling his hand around up there, and he goes, "Nope, there's nothing here. They must have got it." And I'm not thinking really anything of it, and we drive away. And Mike reaches into his pocket, pulls out a $100 bill. He goes, "This is for you." I'm like, "What the hell is that?" He goes, "You didn't even see me take it, did you?"
He knows where it came from, and he accepted it willingly.
And I put it in my pocket. That $100 sat on the top of my locker, on the top shelf, for the longest time. I don't want to say the $100 bill haunted me, but I didn't spend it. And a couple of days later, I was in court, and he's working with this female cop.
We get in the car, and we get a call for a burglary over on Hageman Avenue. We get to the house. I'm the lead cop into the house.
Anti-crime shows up, which is the plainclothes unit for the precinct.
I happen to just go bag a closet, and in the closet's anti-crime. And the guy picks up a bag. It's a green fucking garbage bag filled with cash. So I look at him, he looks at me. I go, what are you gonna do, bro? Fucking spend the whole day vouchering cash? Just leave it there. Fuck it.
So Mike smooth talks anti-crime and explains to them, oh, you got to take all that back. You got to stamp each bill. You got to initial each bill. That's going to take you for fucking ever.
Yeah, you're right. He puts the bag down. I go back, rip open the bag, take about $4 or $5 grand, put it in my pockets. I go, because I couldn't take the bag out. There's cops all over the place. We get in the car. Back then, we didn't have cell phones, so I went over to the payphone and called Chicky.
I got a call from Mikey. He says, listen, I need you to get over to this address. I was just there. I saw this bag full of money, but I got a new partner, and I'm not doing anything in front of him. I need you to get over there right away while I'm working so this way I can watch your back.
I got a bag full of money in an apartment, and I'm keeping an eye on it.
I said, Mikey, I'm stuck. I don't have a car at this point.
I said, go rent one. Go buy, just get one.
You better call somebody. You better steal one. You better do something, but you need to get.
So I circled the block for an hour and a half, just making sure no one would go in the house. This way, any way you can circle a block, I didn't leave that door, basically.
And what does the other cop think's going on?
I don't. I'm sort of suggesting to her that I'm sort of keeping an eye on the house. You know, it's our responsibility to sort of safeguard the location.
Finally, I get a hold of somebody who has a car, and we go over there dressed as detectives.
After about the 40th time I circled the fucking house, Chicky pulled up.
I knock on a door. I flash a shield, a phony shield, to the landlord. He looks at it. What can I do for you, officer? I need to get into apartment so-and-so. The cops were just here. I need to check it out. We get in there. Your chest is blowing up because it's one of those things where you don't know what's going to happen next. You know what's there. You know what you're doing, all of that. But the adrenaline rush, it's nothing you ever felt. And that rush goes on. It doesn't die down until maybe 15, 20 minutes later until you're home. Doesn't die down. You get the shakes. I was in there maybe tops a minute and a half.
What are you worried about in that minute and a half?
Good cop shows up, what do I tell him? I'm not even on the job anymore. You know, I got Mikey handling everything outside as far as any of the units showing up or anything like that. So I know I'm pretty good there. So the only other thing I'm worried about is a bad guy.
What happens if a bad guy walks through the door?
Anything could have happened. I might have had to tune somebody up. I might have been dead. We searched, and exactly where Mikey said he saw this bag of money, it was there. It's all packaged the way drug dealers package it, with the rubber band, $1,000 bundles, thousands of dollars in it. Thousands of dollars in it.
The car takes off. I go, oh my God, my buddy Chicky's here. I pull him over. I go, how do we do? He goes, oh, we got a fucking big bag full of cash, and we're going back to my buddy's house, and we're gonna count up. How much you got? I said, I don't know, 5, 6 grand. So I fucking banged out early, drove over to my friend's house, jumped in a limousine, and drove to Atlantic City counting the cash we just fucking pulled off on his job.
And we go to Atlantic City, and we turn all of these 10s, 5s, and 20s into $100 bills. We sit down, we play a while, we eat a while, whatever it is, and then we come back with the clean money.
You know, to put 11, 12, 15, 20 grand in your pocket in one day, you're like, holy fuck, I just made my year.
Forget about Beverly Hills and all that other stuff. The ghetto is one of the richest neighborhoods there is.
Look what you missed out on. This could have been yours. We could have went back after anti-crime. It could have been just you and me. I wouldn't have had to call them. $50,000? Fuck.
Like any cheap cocksucker, he was impressed by the money, and I told him, you know, as far as I'm concerned, if there's 3 pieces of rice on the table, my wife, my kids, then you, I'll go hungry. So that's how I see this. And he went, I'm in.
I jumped in head first, man. I went in.
Mr. Dowd, you said that you and your partner had agreed that you were going to graduate into more serious crimes at this point in your career. Did you accomplish that objective? Eventually?
Yes.
How did you accomplish that objective?
Well, what had happened was you know, through we had a very strong relationship with a local drug dealer. His name was Mr. Perez.
I'm driving up Van Sicklet, and on my right-hand side, I see this very attractive Hispanic woman, very slender, red pump heels on, long black flowing hair, standing next to a shiny, beautiful red Corvette. Immediately, I was, of course, drawn to the scene. You got a beautiful woman standing next to a beautiful car. I mean, how perfect could it get?
I had my Corvette parked outside, which was my showroom car. My wife was there cleaning the car, and police car stopped right in front of my shop.
This dark-skinned Dominican guy that looked like a string bean with long braided hair that came down to the middle of his back come up to the patrol car and say, "Hey, officer, what can I do for you?"
I went, I said, "Hey, my name is Barron." He's like, "I don't give a fuck who you are." He kept looking at my wife.
Hey, but what's up with this girl here? He goes to me, "What girl?" I says, "This beautiful girl standing here. She's beautiful." He said, "That's my wife." So, in total disbelief, I said, "Get the fuck out of here. That's not your wife."
My man, it's taken. That's my wife.
And I said, "Holy fuck, I can't believe that would be... Wow, you must be something."
And I think he used that as an excuse to come in too. You know, to get close to me.
Baron Perez was the owner of a stereo installation shop.
Auto Sound City. In the front, it had a little store where they sell all the equipment, and in the back was the shop where you do all the repairs and installation.
Drug dealers are the ones with money. They want 18 speakers and stereos and all types of stuff. The more they can put in the car, the better. So it's obvious that he has connections to drug dealers.
I know his clients are drug dealers. He knows that I know his clients are drug dealers. He knows that I know he's a player. He doesn't know how much of a player I am at this point, but he sees the glee in my eye.
I looked him in the eye. He looked at me in the eye. We made an agreement as friends.
So here I am. I happen across this individual running a proprietorship with nothing but drug money coming in and out of the place all day long. Maybe there's some way we can make money from this.
La Compañía, it's a very serious Dominican gang. They made a lot of money. Millions and millions of dollars.
La Compañía was one of the most powerful drug organizations at that time in New York City.
Jose Montalvo, also known as Cello, was the original leader of the Compañía and was responsible for its operation.
Me and my partner are working on the drug side of Cello's organization. Joe Hall and his partner are working on the murder side of Cello's organization.
I have a large carton of homicides that I can attribute to La Compañía.
Cello saw himself as a businessman. The company was set up very much like a business.
They had supervisors, they had workers, they had runners. Runners would take the drugs from the Heights over to East New York, put it in a stash house. Then they had the manufacturing part, where they had the heat sale jumbo 20s for distribution.
Their shifts matched the police shift, so if a shift for a police officer was 8 to 4, then his shift at his spot was 8 to 4. For Cello, it meant when his vulnerability was highest, the police presence was lowest in the precinct. The only aspect of it that made it a little different than a business is if in a business, if you mess up, you get a reprimand. In his business, if you mess up, you got killed.
Cello was not intimidating to look at, but he has his darkness, you know. He was a brutal guy. He didn't think about it to have somebody killed. He killed a lot of people.
The company was very violent. I mean, there were murders of people who were trying to rob them for the money that was at the spot. There were murders of people who were in the company who they perceived as a threat. There were murders of rivals. They brought people specifically from the Dominican Republic to work in New York whose only job was to kill people they saw as a threat.
Just by the murders alone, we knew we were up against a really tough crew, really tough crew.
The time is now approximately 1840 hours. We are conducting this video surveillance for the Brooklyn North Narcotics Area Office.
My investigation, the La Compañía investigation, was 2 locations in East New York, Pine and Pitkin and Norwood and Fulton. Early on in the investigation, we received information about Cello, that he was going to be at Norwood and Fulton Street. I had borrowed a very nondescript surveillance van. And we were right in front of the Bachado restaurant where we knew the members of the organization would hang out, the bosses would hang out. Tom and I are in the van, and we're comfortable, we're having our coffee, and then slowly we start to see people show up. So Tom, being a DEA agent, he starts taking the shots. And we're pretty excited because we know that everybody's showing up. It's part of Cello's crew. And we said, well, we'll be able to identify who this person is, this person is, this person is, because at that point we had cooperators that would point to us, this is so-and-so, this is so-and-so. So we're saying, this is great. Time goes by, and I kind of like look over it, and I saw a quick glance. I'm giving it a little bit more time, but I'm getting the heebie-jeebies. I'm saying something's up the way they're looking at us. I said, Tom, that's enough. Wrap it up. We got everybody. As I start the van, vroom, of course, they know no one's come in and out of that van, and they've had their eye on it. And I hear, Mira, Mira. And then I see a guy walk over and pop the trunk of a blue Chevelle. The pack comes up, and they start reaching in, and they start bringing out hardware. I saw about maybe 4 or 5 guns come out of the trunk of that car, and I see a fucking street sweeper come out of the trunk of the car. And I said, oh, my God, this is it. We're fucked. I had my little 5-shot. Tom had his 9, but we were sitting in there like we were in a, like fish in a barrel. As they start to bring out the hardware, I get the car out in time. As we pulled out, 2 rounds were fired. So now I'm really flying out of there. And I'm looking at the rearview mirror, of course, and I see the 2 headlights, and then they start flying towards us. So now I go, fuck. They are absolutely in pursuit. I put over the radio, 7-5 squad, we got shots fired central. We're being pursued by 2 vehicles at Logan and Fulton. Central calls back, and she said, give me a description of the car you're chasing. I said, negative. I said, they're chasing us. I go down Atlantic Avenue, I go west, I jump over the sidewalk. There's a sidewalk divider there. I jump over the sidewalk. They do the same. They jump over the sidewalk with their sedans. And I start to head towards the 7-5 precinct, to the fort. I think we went down Essex Street or Linwood Street, and they stopped their pursuit.
Barron says to me that I have a friend, Cello.
He has an organization in the neighborhood. He's not too far from here.
And he wants to know if you can give me some information about narcotics, if they're going to bust, if they're not going to bust. I tell Kenny that we got to deal with this guy.
What Mike came up with was $8,000 a week, and we will offer our services to this Dominican drug gang.
Cello. We'd pay Barron, and I would pick the money up at Barron's shop.
That first burglary scene we went to, Mike threw me $100. I thought I could always come back from that. Now we're dealing with a major drug organization, and we're supposed to get systematic payoffs. There's no turning back. There's no becoming a cop again.
Kenny and I pick up our money that Cello had dropped off.
We get to my house, counting the money is short. Mike is fucking pissed. They fucking shorted us. They fucking shorted us.
I'm a New York City cop. I'm taking a risk of going to jail for a long period of time, and you're going to short me a dime? There's a line he cannot cross.
Mike was mad, Kenny was mad, and fuck this and fuck that, and...
You're not fucking me. It's not happening. So I sat in front of Cello's drug spot for 4 days, every night. Just sat there, chasing people. Hitting the lights, hitting the sirens, chasing them. Harassing them, pulling them over. He fucking sends a message over to Barron, tell that cop I'm putting a contract on him, I'm gonna have him whacked. Went to work the next day, happened to go down Fulton, right in front of Hale, and here comes his Porsche, pulling away. I had never seen this guy in person, but I knew it was his car. I pulled him over, license, registration. Of course, he doesn't know who the fuck I am because he never saw me. He, complies with my orders, pulls out his license, registration, insurance card. I take it, throw it back in his fucking car, and I go, "You gonna have me killed?" And he looks at me, and he doesn't know what the fuck to do. I'm standing there, I'm in his face, you're gonna have me killed? Why don't we do this? You get out of your fucking car, and I'll be a real man. You get out of your fucking car right now, and we'll do a 20 fucking pace walk-off, and we'll see who wins. Let's do it right now. You fucking owe me money, and you fucking put a hit on me, you motherfucker? No. Call it off right now. I never said anything about the money to him. You call it off right now. Or you see how this is for real. Like, this is for fucking real. You can't just tell you putting a hit on a fucking cop and me not fucking come find you. I did. Day one, I found you. I don't know, a couple hours later, I get a page from Barron. He goes, Mike, Cello just called me, told me the hit's off. Boy, I got something for you. Walked in Barron's office at Auto Sound City, he handed me $700.
Mike is furious. He doesn't want to have nothing to do with these guys no more.
Barron is a businessman. So he says to me, I got another guy who I think can use our help now.
So you had the company was a drug organization run by Jose Montalvo, who was also known as Cello. Then you had another organization doing pretty much the same thing, run by Adam Diaz.
How does your organization compare to the company?
Nothing at all.
What do you mean?
Because the company was a fucking low-scale shit. Half a grand shit, like dimes. Dimes! He didn't have the connections I had. I could take him off of the fucking business in a heartbeat. But I didn't want to do that. Why? Because he didn't represent no competition to me. And on top of that, his sister was in love with me. Beautiful girl. I was banging the shit out of her.
So what's it take to be the boss?
Balls. And you gotta be responsible. I know how a lot of kilos on Escobar because I know the stamp. When you have a Colombian connection, if they bring you 1,500 kilos and you have it in a place, you're already responsible for that. I don't care if tomorrow the kilos goes down $2,000 a piece, $3,000, $5,000. It doesn't matter. You're already responsible for that amount. You better fucking come forward with the money.
Or what?
What fucking they kill you? No make no difference to them. I had several stores open in East New York. Blake Avenue, Crescent Avenue, Van Sicklen Avenue, New Liston, Vermont.
So you can get anything at your store. You can get Pampers or you can get 10 kilos.
This is a regular grocery store.
Any regular customer will walk on the aisle, take their cereal, take their whatever. The other clients that will go for the other product will walk quietly all the way to the back. On the back, it was a metal door. You knock on that door, and the guy will open the door for you, and you give him the money. I want half a key, I want 62 ounces.
So when they come out of there, they come out with a whole bunch of grocery, but underneath all of that, you got kilos.
When I saw Adam the first time, I said, this is the guy that we should work with.
I know Barron for a while already. I took him a Porsche on 911, candy red, beautiful vehicle. And I say, look, Barron, I don't like ghetto music. I like Julio Iglesias, I like Bryan Adams, you know? But I don't like those fucking big black boxes with big speakers. I hate that shit. But I want to hear the music. And I says, by the way, don't make any holes on my porch. You're not gonna believe it. When I came back to pick up my porch, he didn't make not one hole on that car. And the car sounded like a fucking club. Not only that, he put music there to listen to Julio Iglesias, but he say, you want somebody to listen to black music, they could put it on, Adam. But it's up to you. I had 3 fucking machines counting money, and it's still not enough time. Barrow calls me. He's got these 2 police officers who want to talk to me about They could protect your business, and they could give you information about when they're gonna ready your place. I told Byron, okay, let's do a meeting with those guys.
Kenny and I discuss a few things, and we go in, we have a meeting with Barron about it, and we tell Barron $24,000 in our hands to talk.
Fucking Mike was a fucking brain. He said, I think it was $25,000 down payment, so he could trust me. I said, no problem.
We go in the back room. Barron makes a couple of quick introductions.
The first time I saw Kenny, I knew he didn't have that gangster shit in him. He had that cop look where you say, fuck, he's a cop. Mike didn't. From day one, Mike didn't have that cop look. Mike was like me.
Mike starts laying it down on the line. $24,000 down payment, and then you're going to give us $8,000 a week.
We're selling him on the point that if we know of or are aware of any undercover activity in the area, we would inform him.
We will make sure all the other places are raided. You tell us where your competition is. We'll make sure narcotics knocks them out. We will tell you when narcotics is in the area. Diaz was all for it. He wanted that clout. He wanted to own cops.
Having cops gave him more power. Nobody can touch me. Nobody can touch my crew. I got what I needed to keep bringing my empire up.
I called one of my guys. He brought me the money. Here, Mike. Take a walk.
The look at Mike and Kenny when they first got the payoff, Christmas in June, maybe.
Me and Mike were ridiculously happy. I mean, I know I was.
We had left there with a nice load of money in our hands, with two young guys, with two young, beautiful wives and young kids, and it's almost like a time for celebration.
My wife was in the precinct that day visiting her grandmother who lived in the precinct.
Michael and Kenny picked me up. I was sitting in the back seat. I asked how their day was.
I tell my wife, reach in that paper bag, can you give us a couple of beers? We got some beers. We're going to, have a couple of beers on our ride home. She, oh, no problem.
I opened it up, and it was money. And I basically screamed. I was like, oh!
She's just beside herself. She can't believe how much money's in that bag.
Money always feels good.
I tried to reassure her, don't worry, everything's going to be all right. We're going to make some money,
Michael was driving pretty erratically, and he was going fast.
Mike was doing fucking 100 in a little blue Hyundai.
We got pulled over.
Before the cop even was out of his car, Mike was out of his car, walking back to the cop with his tin out.
What is he stopping a cop for? I'm like, you just, rode the median. I think you both are crazy. This is trouble.
Adam would do his business, i.e. sell his dozens of kilos of cocaine in a day. And at the end of the day, he'd have to make a serious move, like take his money and or drugs out of the building and bring them to wherever his stash house was. He asked us to ride shotgun for him so that if there were people tailing him, they would see that he had juice, that the police were protecting his moves.
No one's going to try to rob him while they see a patrol car 10 feet behind him.
Mike was in charge to protect my stuff from point A to point B.
We were like their Brinks. We were, protecting him, making sure he was not robbed.
Effectively, he had a police escort.
He had a police escort. Well, he did have a police escort, yeah.
Michael Dow got me vest, police officers, bulletproof vest for me and my guys. Original shit from the storage in the prison. So my guys used to wear it with pride, Like, wow, Adam got it going on. Adam, he controls the cops. We don't have nothing to worry about. There was guys that were competition to me. I'll give you a example. The guy in front of me, they call him Dominica. Short guy, fat. He think he's a gangster. He's a fucking pussy. He started giving me a hard time, stealing my customers. Because he happened to be in front of my store, I can kill him. His wife knew me, his mother knew me, everybody knew me. If he's dead the next day, what the fuck is gonna happen to me? The feds coming after me. Can't touch the guy. I say, fuck, what am I gonna do? I say, Mike, I need this guy out of the way, please. So what did Mike did? He parked the fucking police officer car right in his corner. No customers will fucking go into his spot. I say, wow, Mike, you're the man.
Kenny and I happened by chance to be passing